Hi, I'm Sub-Lieutenant David Pegagnon from the Naden Band of the Royal Canadian Navy. We are an ensemble of 35 professional musicians working full-time in the Navy. We do concerts both indoors and outdoors, perform for schools like yours, participate in all sorts of parades and military events, and are present all around the community. In other words, all kinds of performances we can't really do anymore since the start of the pandemic. So what did we do? We decided to reinvent ourselves. We started to produce music videos, virtual performances, and other types of content to share on our social media pages and reach out to people. So much so that it's mainly what we do now, and that's what we want to tell you about today. We want to share with you how we do things. So we decided to pick our Reminiscence video featuring the Pacific Blue Big Band and show you some of the behind the scenes of the production. Petty Officer 2nd Class Barry Sorensen, leader of the Big Band, will tell you about the composition of the piece, the audio recording, the filming, and finally, the audio and video editing to get to the end product. Off to you, P.O.
Thank you, sir, and hello everyone. As the Naden Band was celebrating its 80th year anniversary, I decided it would be nice to contribute an original composition for the Big Band to perform. Since we have largely been working from home during the pandemic, I had plenty of time to be creative and write music. I had wanted to write a new tune with a bossa groove and started out with a little chord progression that became the basis for the main theme of the tune. After coming up with the melody and chord changes, it occurred to me that the tune would make a good big band chart, so I decided to go ahead with an arrangement that I thought would be a good fit for the 80th anniversary. Generally speaking, I like to sit down at the keyboard to write music. I have a MIDI keyboard connected to my computer, and after I come up with musical ideas, I enter them into Finale music notation program. Writing a melody with chord changes can take anywhere from 15 minutes to a couple of hours. Taking that tune and making it into a big band chart, however, takes much more time. I probably spent an hour or two, a few days a week, over a period of about a month to come up with the big band arrangement for Reminiscence. At the time of the recording, our pandemic restrictions were such that we could have no more than 5 musicians in the room at one time. This meant that we couldn't record the full big band all together. To record section by section, I needed to create an audio track with a click track for the musicians to play along with. To do this, I exported an audio file from my arrangement in Finale to another software program called Logic Pro. There, I added the click track, which is simply an audible click that enables the musicians to all play in time together, even though they're recording separately. With the reference track ready to go, the next step is to set up the studio at the band room to record section by section. There are 2 main parts to recording the audio. The first is recording all the sounds and getting them on a computer, and the second part is putting all the separate recordings together into one piece of music. So how do we get the sound from the instruments onto the computer? The first thing we need is microphones. We need 1 microphone for each instrument, but for the drum set, which is actually a lot of drums together, we need quite a few more or we won't hear them all very well. We actually have such a big permanent setup in our room that we use what's called a snake, which is basically a bunch of extension cables all wrapped together. It's going through the wall and is plugged into the computer, all in the right channels, so we don't have to deal with this every time. Now, when we have our program open and hit record, all the microphones we have plugged in will be recorded on different channels. One of the most important things when we're recording is where we put the microphones. First of all, we want to put the mics close to the instrument so it only hears that one person and not much of the other players around them. We also want to place it where the instrument sounds best, which isn't always right in front. We use our ears to listen from different spots around the player to figure out the best spot. Another thing to consider is that we are making a video, so we don't want the microphones to get in the way of seeing the players or the people walking around taking video. It's a lot to think about. Once everything is set up, we need to make sure the microphones are picking up enough sound, but not so much that we get distortion. This is called getting the levels, and we do it by asking a person to play the loudest part they'll be playing in the recording and adjusting gain, or the amount of sound the microphone will pick up. We want to see that the sound or signal is getting into the system without hitting the red or clipping, which causes distortion and makes the recording unusable. When it's all in place and the levels are set, we're ready to hit record. If we only needed to get footage of one musician at a time, we might be able to get away with using only one camera. But since Reminiscence features a lot of musicians playing at the same time, we needed to use multiple cameras, so that everyone got a chance to be seen as well as heard. The principal camera we use for almost all of our main footage is a DSLR. The thing that makes this type of camera so useful to us is that you can attach different lenses to it for different situations. We can use different types of shots, and therefore different lenses, depending on what's going on in the tune at that moment. We can use a wide-angle lens to take footage of a whole group of musicians playing together, like this trombone section feature, but if there's a soloist playing, we'd probably zoom in on them. But even if you don't have a DSLR, they can be pretty expensive. You can also get high-quality video from the camera in your phone, too. In fact, for Reminiscence, we used a neat trick that could only have been done using a phone camera. One of our videographers, P.O. McDonald, built this little cart out of plastic tubing and rollerblade wheels. Attaching a phone to the cart allows the camera to move smoothly around and between the musicians. Pulling the little cart around does look kind of silly, but it makes for some interesting footage. It gives a unique perspective and makes for a cool visual that we couldn't get any other way. After the recording sessions are done, all of the raw audio files need to be sorted through and put together. Taking good notes during the sessions is important, but the tracks need to be auditioned one more time to ensure the best takes are used. Sometimes it is necessary to cut and paste, similar to how you would in a word processor, to get the best end result. To edit audio, you need a program called a Digital Audio Workstation, or DAW for short. As I showed you earlier, my DAW is Logic Pro. After choosing all the best takes and lining everything up, there are a number of things that can be done to improve the quality of the audio. This process is called mixing. One of the most important ideas when mixing is to balance the volume of all the different instruments. The levels for each instrument often need to constantly be adjusted throughout the track on a continuous basis. Also important is to adjust the brightness and darkness of each instrument and the track as a whole with EQ. As recording studios are generally acoustically very dry, we add reverb to sweeten the tracks and make it sound more natural. Depending on the musical context, the reverb can be adjusted to make it sound as though the ensemble was performing anywhere from a cathedral or concert hall to a small room. When the final mix is done, all that is left are some fine-tuning adjustments, which are done in a process called mastering. The final master is then sent off to the video editor to import into yet another software program specifically for video editing. The next first part of the process is to piece together all the different clips we have of everyone playing and assemble them into the final complete video. The way we do this is by using a non-linear video editing program. This means we can import all the footage into a library and then pick and choose where and when we want to use them. It starts by putting in the complete audio track of Reminiscence and using that as a reference to line up all the other clips against. Sometimes our footage will have some problems. It might be too bright or too dark, or sometimes they're too blue or too pink. This program allows us to change and fix all these types of issues so that the clips look more consistent throughout the video. It also means we can do fun things like make everyone green if we want, but maybe not for this video. We ended up shooting a ton of footage for this project, which means we caught some funny moments along the way. It's nice to try and include some humorous moments in most of the videos if we can. It makes it fun for our editors to try and work out a small moment to include, and even more fun when we see people online who catch the funny little moments that are included. The most important part of a video like this is to make sure that all the clips are in sync with each other. In the same way you would look around at everyone playing a concert, we want everyone to all be playing at the same time. We also want to show the main people who are playing at each time, but we also want to make sure that we show not just the people playing the melody, so you get a broader view of the whole piece, the same way you would at an in-person concert.
As you can see, we've adapted. Over the year, we have created more than 30 videos from solos, duos, and small groups, all the way to full band performances. We're looking forward to performing live and seeing you face to face again. Until then, we will continue to make videos so you can enjoy the music from the fine members of the Naden Band. If you'd like to see the videos we've made, find us on Facebook, Naden Band of the Royal Canadian Navy.